Yeah, Gukesh just won an amazing game in the World Championship by trapping Ding's bishop and converting the game. Now Gukesh has officially equalized the World Championship match, and with all the momentum, it seems like Gukesh is going to win this thing. But how did we actually get here? Gukesh was born May 29th, 2006 in Chennai, India. He grew up all around chess and he started playing chess at around 10 years old. And this game is around that time. I believe it is from 2014. I couldn't find any other earlier game in the database, so I believe this is one of the earliest. And in this game, Gukesh was 1661 and his opponent started with the ready opening d5 and began into this King's Indian attack. And Gukesh plays very, very solidly in a semi-Slav way, aiming to develop like this. And that kind of happens with bishop d6, and he develops like this. So knight e5 now. And knight e5 is a critical moment because Gukesh here has to play a5 or something like rook to d8 simply. But what Gukesh does is not right at all. Bishop takes e5. And now knight to e8. And now white has all the center and piece play, and he's going to strike at the center here. Knight d2 and now f6. Gukesh tries to free himself of his shackles, but there is e4 and Gukesh's position is falling apart. Knight to b6 now, but simply queen to e2 and rook to d8. You have to play something like e5, trying to go d4. And even though the position is better, I mean, Gukesh is still holding, obviously. I mean, if takes, actually he's not, he's losing a pawn. But yeah, I mean, he had to play something like rook to d8, but not just takes and rook to e1, and this pawn is now super weak. His bishop is absolutely trash, and this knight is also not going anywhere well. This bishop is really, really good, this bishop too, and here his opponent's pieces are just coming into play very, very nicely. Now, his opponent here, and you mentioned this, is 1465, so 200 rating points lower than Gukesh, and he just outplayed him simply because he has more knowledge of the position. Gukesh here in this game is 8 years old, and he basically just started playing chess, but he's still like amazing. And he tries his best here, but there's just simply no avail. His opponent, beautiful centralization of the pieces, very positional masterclass here actually. And I mean, he has to give up the rook, and he continues playing a bit like this. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is over. But you know, as all 8-year-olds do, at the end of the day, he plays until checkmate, rook a1. So yeah, you can kind of say a rough game for Gukesh here, but at the end of the day, mistakes do make you stronger. And then what happened here to Gukesh, he got just outplayed because of just lack of positional awareness. Usually these kids have great technical abilities, but the positional awareness is not there at all. So yeah, I mean, a rough start for Gukesh here, but within the years, Gukesh improved. In just 2 years, he improved from 1600 to 2100 and became one of the best young players in the game. After that, he went on to play in the Olympiad, get good results. India finished second in the 44th Chess Olympiad in Chennai. But where he really started to take off was 2024, our past year, when he played in the 45th Olympiad, and he actually won. He won a team and individual gold medal, and he played amazingly. So let's take a look at that. In this game, I picked out Gukesh's best game, I believe, in this tournament, where he played against Fabiano Caruana. Knight f6, c4, e6, g3. The Catalan likes to play this a lot. He plays just d4, c4 mainly. In the World Championship, we saw him play e4 against Ding's French, but he mostly plays d4. So d5, bishop g2, and Fabiano, a really interesting opening choice here, turns it into a black knights tango here with knight f3. And these positions can get very, very weird, because oftentimes black is probably going to capture here, and white is going to play rook b8 or try to do this, this, and this, and turn it into a more traditional open Catalan and just play normally. And he actually does it immediately. Rook b8 threatens, like if, let's say, castled. Now you can already take, and if something like queen to c2, b5, and now black is hanging on to this pawn, and white does get a lot of counterplay, obviously, with b3, but knight b4, and I mean, black is just a pawn up, and black has good chances. But that doesn't happen. He exchanges here, and now bishop b4, he throws in this check before, taking back. Knight c3, now e takes. E takes, if you would have gone with the knight, you maybe think, oh, you know, you get some pressure here. But simply queen c2, and at the end of the day, he doesn't have that much. At the end of the day, he's going to be forced to take here, retreat the bishop, and now this bishop is just trash. And if he ever tries b6, it kind of softens up the c file, and now Gukesh gets c4, c5. So e takes, actually. Now the bishop is going to f5. And actually here, bishop g5 is not that good of a move. He should have played maybe just castles or bishop to c4. But yeah. So he played bishop g5, which is also fine. But the thing is that takes, and now simply h6. The thing is, bishop f4, like, there's just simply bishop f5. Now you've wasted a tempo, and now black gets suddenly like a lot of activity and play. So that's something like knight a5, and now simply take, and knight e4. And you know, black's position has kind of come to life here. But it's still better, but black is completely fine. So yeah, h6 now. He does it without taking here, which is a bit worse, but it's also, I mean, quite good, because now he's wasted a tempo. So he castles, and now here's the last time he can really take, because like if he castles, now knight takes d5 obviously. So now he does take here, and after takes, now he castles. And now knight to d2. Knight to d2 maybe is looking a bit weird, because you moved your knight here, and then here two squares looks a bit more passive, but it isn't actually, because he wants to play e4. This is a normal idea in the Catalan. You want to support your center with this knight here. You know, just maybe show an example. Like in a normal Catalan, you would have this, maybe like in a closed Catalan. This is kind of the plan here. Queen c2, and you would do this. And you put your knight on d2, and you want to support your center with it. Another example could be this, where you go this line, this triangle setup here. Kind of a Slav, but here you go knight f to d2, with the idea of going knight to c3 and e4 like this, and I can take with the knight, and you have an amazing position. You don't need to play queen c2. But yeah, in this position, it's actually very similar, because you do get the same thing, even though rook e1 was technically a better move, because like the idea is bishop e6, and now you quite quickly get e4, not immediately, but you play something like queen d3. Let's say rook d8, and now you go back to knight d2, or you maybe e4. But at the end of the day, it is kind of equal here, actually. So Gukesh is really not playing for a win like that. But yeah, and he doesn't even, the thing is, after knight to e7, which he plays here, which is a nice move, or bishop e6 would have been better, he doesn't even play e4. Which is kind of confusing, because, I mean, this was the point, right? Moving back, playing e4. I mean, e4 is definitely a very good move, including queen a4 is also a good move, but e3 is just a bit unambitious, like the engine thinks that, at least. If you might think c4 looks like a good move, it's not, because you hang a pawn. But the idea is that this is actually quite good. And I don't know why Gukesh didn't do this. I mean, it's a long time ago, this game too. I guess he just didn't like something in his calculation. Maybe he didn't like that his pawns could be softened like that, and yeah. So knight d2, and yeah, knight d2, knight e7, and e3. That is what happened. And now he does actually play bishop e6, and now e4 is still good, but not as good, because now black gets c5 and has a great position, and is actually completely equalized here. So he plays queen a4. He kind of delays going for e4 or c4 anything concrete, but instead he just improves his pieces, and he kind of uses the fact that rook b8 has been played to attack this pawn. And here, if Fabiano plays any move except knight c8, he's just a bit worse. Like, if he plays a6, which he did in the game, he's worse. If he plays rook a8, obviously he's worse. He has to play knight c8, which looks kind of weird, but the idea is that this knight, this isn't a passive defensive move. The knight is coming to d6 and c4 or e4, and there the knight can actually get quite nice. Like, for example, in this line, rook fe1, like this is the top engine line, queen d8, it looks like you're completely falling back here, but like knight b3, b6, and like knight c1 trying to go here, and now knight to d6. And this is kind of a sacrifice because the queen is lost. So you have to kind of prepare a bit here with black. But yeah, the idea is to go here, and black is equalized definitely. But he plays a6, which now gives black the opportunity to play e4. And now he finally does it. And here you do actually have to take, which looks a bit weird because you're giving white this amazing knight square here. And he just has all the central space. But the thing why this is good is because your pieces actually come to life. This knight now has some squares here. This bishop is open. And this file is open for the rooks. And now with the rook on d8, c5 will be even better. For example, queen g8, like if white just does nothing, rook d8, like c5 here. If c5 is supported, this could get quite nice. Not immediately, obviously, but because this pawn is then hanging. So e4 doesn't do that, he plays c5. He just kind of misevaluates the position. And he's still fine, obviously. But here Gukesh has an amazing move, which is queen to a3. And now the engine kind of rethinks the evaluation, and now it says plus 0.6. Because at the end of the day, like, this queen isn't doing much. Like, this bishop is staring into a pawn. This knight can't really move. But he plays b6 with the idea that takes, now just c takes d4. And yeah, I think you simply lose a pawn here. And now the center is destabilized and black is even a bit better. So he plays rook a to b1. And Gukesh is just exerting a lot of pressure here. This queen is, even though it's at the rim of the board, it's actually very well placed. It's putting some nice pressure here, kind of a sniper here. So rook f to e8 is now played, which is the best move. And now Gukesh has to basically play one move. He has to play e5. e5 looks actually very natural, but I think why he didn't do this is because he just, like, this queen is actually quite good here, and with the bishop, I don't know if he was afraid of an attack, but definitely that black's pieces would be coming to life. So he takes on c5, which is also fine, but just simply not that good, because now, I mean, Fabiano should take back, but that does lose a pawn. And now rook bc8, I mean, he probably saw this, obviously, but he probably just misevaluated this. Like, the idea is rook c2, and now obviously this is a fork, knight b3, and you just like take, and you can take here. And you've equalized as black. This is equal, nothing much to say here. But he plays d4. I guess Fabi just thought that he didn't want to lose his pawn. He just, I mean, maybe he thought something like this, because now rook c8, but rook c8 is impossible. So I don't actually quite know, but yeah, queen e3, where are we? Yeah, here. So d4 is just a bad move actually, and now Gukesh is almost +1. But really only if he plays one move. Really only if he plays rook takes b6, which seems completely natural. Fabi saw this obviously, but his idea was takes, knight to b3, and then this pawn is a weakness. And bishop c4, you're guarding this pawn, and this pawn is going to be collected. That was his idea probably. But that just isn't that easy, because rook to c1, actually your pawn is falling. Queen b6, rook c3, bishop b5, and I mean, it doesn't look like much, but white is just simply better, because his pieces are just way better placed, and he has like a bunch of activity, and yeah, I mean, it's just better. So like queen c5 or something, white's turn queen c5 and like queen e6. I mean, look at this position. I mean, white is very comfortable. But Gukesh plays c4, and now loses a bit of the advantage again, because now queen g5, you're hitting this, so like he has to defend it, but knight b3 here would have been better. You're attacking this pawn, defending this pawn, and now he has to play bishop c4, but just simply rook f c1, and bishop b3 even has to be played here. And like Gukesh is again a bit better, but Fabi would probably survive this. But rook f to d1 now puts the game in a complete draw, because not this, because queen to c5. And here, like, if just simply this, black is probably even a bit better, simply because he has a passed pawn and white doesn't, and this pawn is isolated. And black actually has better pawn structure and just better pieces maybe in the future, like this. But none of that happens. Again, rook d1, and now bc5. And here what is good is f4, queen h5, and now f5, going all the way in. This is Gukesh's playing style, going risky because he is a young player and they do like to go risky. So yeah, the best move is takes, and queen e2, which looks terrible, but it really isn't. Because now with this, the king is low-key active, and you have a passed pawn, and it's probably going to be a draw because of that. And this is actually exactly what happens in the game. He takes, he plays queen e2, and he gets the king out of here. Now, queen to c5. Gukesh is now officially won a pawn, and now he's the only one with winning chances. And here the moves which are drawing actually go down a lot. Like, either king g8 is still around equal, king g6, but queen e3 is actually almost losing because the king just hides, and like rook d1, like this pawn is just lost. Like if you can't play this and you can't move your knight, so this pawn is just lost. So he does play king g8 actually, and here Gukesh has like a bunch of good moves, but like the moves for Fabiano to draw just are going down significantly with every move. So he plays rook to f1, taking the open file, very principled. And now king to h7. And this is now officially a draw. Plus 0.2, this is basically not winnable in a queen endgame. So queen e5. And now he only has one move which holds equal, which he plays queen e3. I mean, really good defending here by Fabi, by the way. Finding the only winning move, king h1. And now again the only drawing move, d3. And bishop h3, d2, again the only drawing move. But now Gukesh only has one move that keeps the game in equality, which is bishop to g4. Which looks like it makes absolutely no sense, but it kind of does it, because you're stopping this pawn here, and maybe you're trying to do some wraparounding here. But now, like, if Gukesh plays, if Fabi plays like rook d8, which seems natural, just simply queen e7, and even though you're getting this bishop back, like, this is not that good. Like queen f2. Like if you try this and this, like it's not a draw. This is far from a draw, and Gukesh will probably win this, but he has to play queen d3. And now Fabi is probably thinking to himself, I'm fighting for a win, which he really isn't. Gukesh is still a bit better, and this game is really confusing because it's like Fabi's position looks better in a lot of these moments, but it really isn't. King g2, he gives away the pawn for a4. He gives away another pawn, but I don't know if this was a bluff, probably not. The idea is this rook to f7, reflecting this, so rook g8 has to be played, but you can't do this because of this, right? But no, it's a draw. And now bishop f5, bishop h6, king h8 ever, simply queen f8, and you just have a draw here. Rook g6, queen f7, king h8, queen f8, and this is a draw. I don't know if Gukesh was willing to go for this or if he just miscalculated, but we get to this position after queen c6, queen d4, and now queen g6. And here, Fabi had more than 3 moves to hold the position, but he goes queen g6, which is almost losing after rook to f4. And this is plus 0.5. Queen g5, and now simply h4. And Fabi's getting pushed back heavy. Rook b8. Like, I don't know what Fabi was thinking with queen g6. He saw this. Maybe he wanted to go h5 or rook b8 immediately, but he's just too slow. Simply this. And now king h8 has to be played. He can't go forward anymore. Gukesh just is up a pawn. He has a great position. But yeah, Fabiano's position just falls apart. He's down a pawn again. And rook to b8. Queen d7. He gets in with the queen, hitting the knight. h5. And he just, cleanly converts. He even got the queen trade here. But he just gets into this endgame. Where after king f2, Fabi resigns because this is simply a1 endgame. King is going to go up. Passed pawns are going to roll down the board. Now, the Olympiad was a long time ago, but it was a bit more recent. Maybe I should have put this in chronological order, but I'm not sure. But we have this now. This is the candidates game of how he got the World Championship match, the thing that is going on right now, if you didn't know, and where Gukesh just equalized the match. This was against Hikaru Nakamura. We can go through this fast, because in you have to imagine these circumstances. The match, Gukesh is leading by half a point, and another game that's going on was between Caruana and the Bomnici. So basically 4 people have the chance to win. Gukesh, who's playing right now, Hikaru, who's playing against Gukesh, Fabiano, who's playing against Nepomniachtchi, and Nepomniachtchi, who's playing against Caruana. If Caruana or Nepomniachtchi wins, then they have equalized with Gukesh. If Gukesh wins, he has 100% won the candidates. But if he draws and Nepomniachtchi versus Caruana ends in a win for someone, then they still have chances. So Gukesh still here, I think he's playing for a draw, because I mean he played Queen's Gambit accepted, and then he just played quite unambitious. He just traded off his bishop for the knight, won a pawn, and now he's actually better. Like, Hikaru is the one who has to fight back in this game, and when you have to fight back, you never have winning chances. What Gukesh is going to do here is, because he's playing for a draw, he's going to give up his pawn at some point for like a bunch of exchanges. Like, if he could get rid of this, 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 and this, it's a draw, no questions asked. And that is exactly what he does. He trades a rook, and look at this. He does exactly what I said. He gives up the pawn here. He knows that this is losing a pawn, but he does it anyways because it's a simplification, and this is just going to be a draw. And no matter what Hikaru does here, Gukesh just drawing. And yeah, nothing happened here. Just a simple draw. And yeah, there we go. And after that, Gukesh made it to the candidates. What an amazing year for him so far. Now up against the World Championship match. So now we are in the World Championship match. Gukesh against Ding. This is it for all the marbles in the world. E4, Gukesh starts off the World Championship match with an unorthodox move. And remember, just one thing to note, remember the time control is 2 hours, no increment, and after 40th move they get 30 minutes and 30-second increments. So he plays, Ding then plays a very edgy line, but it is kind of the main line, and like Ding is already down 47 minutes on move 10. And Gukesh here, at this point, he was an amazing favorite in the match. Everybody thought he was going to win this easily, because Ding is terribly out of form, and look at his rating. But Gukesh now doesn't really have any play on the king's side, because Ding is not castling there, obviously, and he's never really breaking through with f5. And here Ding goes on a miraculous moves. He plays knight b2 in 1 minute, this in a minute, this in 2 minutes, and this in another minute. And after bishop g5, like queen e1 is a mistake, bishop g5 is just better. Rook c4, puts his rook here, takes, and Gukesh completely melts down. And this was a horrible start for Gukesh here in this match. One simple trick, obviously, if king h7, simply this. But Ding doesn't fall for it, and Gukesh with a terrible start to the World Championship match with the mistake here, complete, like a horrible mistake, and just giving Ding the win basically here. And Ding just won a bunch of pawns. But that did not stop him. But in the next game, playing with black, he was not necessarily pushing for a win, but he was, I think, instead playing for a draw. That's why he played e5, and he just put his bishop down, and basically nothing happened from here. And there's repeated moves. And yeah, that's kind of what you do. Even though you lose, you don't necessarily push for a win the next game. He just gets a draw with the black pieces, and now getting ready to fight with the white pieces again. And fight he did. d4, knight f6, and they go into Queen's Gambit declined. Exchange duration. Ding plays a very edgy line here, by the way, again. g6, Ding, always nice preparation. But yeah, and we get into this dynamic position. Ding, bishop c2, crazy. Bishop f4, sacking the pawn. If takes, knight d2. Bye bishop almost, and this is, I mean, amazing. F3, getting the thing here. But yeah, wait, let's get the few moves. H5, taking, and now rook g8, and here again Ding is better, but after all this rook h5, Ding commits an insane mistake, e4, and the bishop is lost. Again another mistake, knight e6, and we look at the time again, almost up an hour, and he missed knight e2 probably. And after this, it was just smooth sailing for Gukesh. Really an amazing game by Gukesh. He used Ding's mistake, and now it's just over this. And Gukesh is won. Ding actually lost on time, I think. And yeah, this is how we got here to this World Championship match. From losing his first game against a way lower rated player when he was 8 years old, to now being in the World Championship match of chess, competing for everything that is to win in chess. So let me know if you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.